What if the way a man behaves in bed could reveal more about his true feelings than anything he's ever said? I know it sounds bold, but what if love doesn't just live in words or gestures, but in the unconscious spaces between us, in the silence, in the way he breathes in the way he touches you when he's not thinking? Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, believed that love isn't just an emotion. It's a merging of souls, a deeply psychological event, where our masks fall and our instincts rise. And sometimes the truth of what a man feels can only be seen when he's most vulnerable and least guarded. So how do you know if what you share is more than just physical? That's exactly what we're exploring today. In this episode, we're diving into 4 unconscious behaviors, subtle, powerful signs that emerge when a man isn't just attracted to you, but emotionally bonded to you on a soul-deep level. These aren't tricks. They're not part of a dating strategy. They're instinctive, raw, and completely involuntary. This is where Jungian psychology meets modern love, where what's unspoken tells you everything. We'll look at the way he holds your gaze, how he prioritizes your pleasure, what he does after intimacy, and how his body syncs with yours sometimes, without him even realizing it. And by the end of this video, you won't be wondering anymore. You'll know what to look for. Because if you've ever questioned, is this just chemistry? Or is this something real? This is where you begin to find your answer. So stay with me, because the truth doesn't always come in words. Sometimes love whispers through the body, when the mind finally lets go. They say the eyes are the window to the soul. But what if I told you that during intimacy, they might be the only part of a man that refuses to lie? In our last segment, we talked about how love, according to Carl Jung, isn't just an emotion, it's a psychological merging, an alchemical fusion of 2 unconscious minds. And in that sacred moment of intimacy, when everything else falls away, there's one behavior that reveals everything: deep, sustained eye contact. Think about it. That moment when you're close, really close, and his eyes don't just glance over you. They lock into you. You're not just being looked at, you're being seen, fully, without filter, without pretense. And in that moment, something ancient happens. Carl Jung referred to the eyes as one of the few involuntary gateways to the unconscious. Unlike words, which can be polished, edited, manipulated, the eyes speak a language the mind can't control. That long, unbroken gaze. It's not performance. It's a psychological surrender, an opening of the self that in many men rarely happens elsewhere. Because let's be honest, we live in a world where men are trained to look away, to detach, to compartmentalize intimacy. For many, sex is about the body, about sensation, climax, release. But when a man is truly in love, everything changes. He doesn't look at you to arouse himself. He looks at you to find himself. He's not just seeing you. He's allowing himself to be seen. And that's terrifying and beautiful. Because in Jungian psychology, we all carry within us an inner counterpart. For men, this is the anima, the hidden feminine aspect of the psyche. And when a man falls deeply in love, it's often because you reflect something he unconsciously recognizes as himself. Or more precisely, the part of himself he longs to integrate. That's why deep eye contact during intimacy is more than just passion. It's a mirror, a reunion, a silent, soul-level recognition. You are not a stranger. You are familiar. You are home. Have you ever felt that, like time stopped, like the world faded and only that look remained? That's not random. That's not hormones. That's the unconscious doing what it does best, breaking through the noise to deliver something pure. And here's what's even more fascinating: when a man avoids eye contact in these moments, it doesn't always mean disinterest. Sometimes it means fear. The fear of vulnerability, the fear of being known, the fear that if someone really saw him, they might not stay. In Jung's work, these are the shadows, the disowned parts of the self we hide even from ourselves. A man who can't hold your gaze might still care for you deeply, but he hasn't yet reconciled with himself. And therefore he can't fully give himself to you. But when he does, when his gaze lingers, softens, stays, it means something profound is happening inside him. He is trusting you, not just with his desire, but with his essence. And let me be clear, this kind of connection can't be forced. It's not something you can script or seduce your way into. You'll know it when it happens, because it feels like everything else fades. The walls, the masks, the roles. Even language becomes unnecessary. It's just two souls suspended in a moment of radical truth. And that truth is this: I see you, and I'm letting you see me. That's why this sign, deep eye contact during intimacy, is the first and arguably most telling unconscious behavior of a man truly in love. It's not a technique. It's not a skill. It's a surrender. So the next time you find yourself in that quiet space, ask yourself, does he look away? Or does he stay with you? Because that one look might be more honest than anything he's ever said. Coming up next, we'll explore the second unconscious act that speaks louder than words, when a man prioritizes your pleasure over his own, and why this has nothing to do with performance and everything to do with the merging of two inner worlds. But for now, I want to leave you with a thought. In a world full of distractions, where eye contact has become a rare currency, what does it mean when someone looks at you like you're the only thing that matters? Here's a question worth sitting with. What's the difference between a man who wants your body and a man who wants your soul? It's not in the gifts. It's not in the words. It's in this: the moment he puts your pleasure before his own, not out of duty, but out of devotion. In today's world, we're often sold the idea that physical intimacy is about performance power or conquest. But when a man is truly in love, his focus quietly shifts. The bedroom stops being a stage. It becomes sacred ground. His goal isn't just connection, it's communion. And that's what Carl Jung would call a psychological transformation. According to Jungian psychology, most of us carry a shadow, the raw, unrefined instincts that live just beneath the surface of our personalities. Lust is one of them. It wants. It takes. It consumes. And in its pure form, lust doesn't care much for the other person. It's self-centered, outcome-driven, and often fleeting. But here's the magic. When love enters, something alchemical happens. Those base desires, they begin to soften. They're still there, but they're no longer in control. What emerges instead is something more evolved: selflessness. A desire not just to be satisfied, but to satisfy. Not just to conquer, but to cherish. When a man truly loves you, he doesn't see your pleasure as separate from his. It becomes part of him. Your happiness, your joy, is his fulfillment. You'll notice it in the smallest moments. The way he studies your breath. The way he remembers the exact spot that made you exhale with relief. The way he pauses, not because he's unsure, but because he wants to be sure. And perhaps most tellingly, he asks, not performatively, not like he's checking a box, but with sincerity, vulnerability, and presence. Did that feel good to you? That one question asked with honest intention speaks louder than 1,000 declarations of love. You see, love doesn't rush. It doesn't race to the finish. Love lingers, it listens, it gives. And here's what's even more beautiful. This giving nature is often unconscious. It's not always strategic. It's not about being the perfect partner. It's about an inner alignment, what Jung would call the integration of the shadow. When a man starts loving with his whole being, not just with his desire, it's often because he's made peace with the deeper parts of himself. He's faced the fear of not being enough. He's challenged the voice that says, "Take before they leave." He's outgrown the need to dominate. And what's left is presence. He shows up for you not just in climax, but in care. Now think back. Have you ever been with someone who made your body feel like a priority, not a playground? Someone who slowed down just to feel the rhythm of your breath, who smiled. Not when he was satisfied, but when you melted. That's not just chemistry. That's emotional maturity. That's the kind of love that nurtures, not consumes. Jung would say, this is the moment when the masculine energy begins to merge with the inner feminine. When action harmonizes with awareness. When giving becomes instinctive, not forced. And this transformation doesn't just stay in the bedroom. A man who values your pleasure is likely the same man who listens deeply, who remembers small details, who protects your peace even when no one's watching. Because for him, your experience matters. Now let me be clear, this has nothing to do with perfection. This isn't about whether he always gets it right. It's about where his attention naturally flows. When he's present, when he's in love, you become his compass. So the next time you find yourself wondering where you stand, ask yourself, does he take joy in your joy? Does he serve not because he must, but because he wants to? Because in the quiet acts of care, in the selfless surrender to your experience, love reveals itself. And you don't need a grand gesture to see it. Sometimes, it's just a gentle touch, a whispered question, a pause that says, you matter more than I do right now. That's not just intimacy. That's devotion. And in the language of Jungian psychology, that's a man whose love has moved beyond the ego into something sacred, transformational, and real. Let me ask you something that might feel a little personal. What happens in the moments after intimacy, not during the act itself, but right after? When the adrenaline fades, when the room is quiet, when there's no more need to impress, perform, or pretend. That space, those unguarded few minutes, hold more truth than many people realize. According to Carl Jung, those moments offer a rare opportunity for the ego to dissolve, allowing something deeper, something unconscious, to rise to the surface. It's like peeling back the layers of who we think we're supposed to be, and getting a glimpse of who we actually are. And for men, this is where the real love story begins. You see, so many men are conditioned to bounce back quickly after sex, to retreat, to make a joke, to roll over, grab their phone, or avoid eye contact altogether. It's not always intentional. Sometimes it's just reflex, an old defense mechanism rooted in fear, shame, or a deep discomfort with emotional vulnerability. But when a man stays present, when he lingers after intimacy, when he wraps his arm around you, whispers a childhood memory, or simply rests his forehead against yours in silence, he's not just connecting with you. He's revealing himself to you. That's the difference. That's the truth Jung was pointing toward when he spoke of the transcendent function. It's a powerful idea that real love acts as a bridge between our conscious self, the one that plays by society's rules, and our unconscious self, the one that's messy, scared, beautiful, and real. And when a man allows that bridge to form, even for a moment, he's saying something far more powerful than "I love you." He's saying, I trust you enough to let you see the parts of me that I usually hide, even from myself. Think about that. Have you ever been with someone who opened up after sex, not just physically, but emotionally? Maybe he shared something small, a story from his past, a wound, a hope. Maybe he held you like you were home. Maybe he didn't need to say much at all. He was just there, present, unguarded human. These aren't random acts. They're unconscious signals of attachment, signs that his body, his nervous system, and his soul associate you with safety, not just satisfaction. Jung believed that intimacy isn't just about the body. It's a psychological event, one that can strip away the persona, the ego mask, and leave behind the raw material of truth. The moment after sex becomes in essence a mirror, reflecting whether this was simply a physical exchange or something far deeper. Now contrast this with the man who immediately distances himself once the act is over. Again, it doesn't always mean he doesn't care, but it can be a sign that there's still a wall, that he's not yet ready or willing to cross into that emotionally vulnerable space. Jung might say that his shadow, his unconscious fears, insecurities, and wounds are still in charge. And so he pulls away, not because he doesn't feel, but because feeling scares him. But a man who stays, who breathes with you, holds you, speaks softly into the quiet, he's surrendering something profound. He's letting go of control. And in doing so, he's inviting you into his inner world. Sometimes that invitation looks like a gentle caress of your hair. Sometimes it's a sigh. Sometimes it's nothing but silence. But a silence that says, I'm here. I'm with you. I'm not hiding. These are the moments where love stops being an idea and becomes a lived experience. And I want to stress this emotional openness isn't always loud. It isn't always poetic. Sometimes it's in the way he doesn't rush to fix the sheets or jump back into the routine. Sometimes it's in the simple act of being still with you. According to Jung, this is the moment when the masculine energy allows itself to integrate with the parts it usually avoids, the soft, the tender, the scared. This is love's deeper current flowing not through grand gestures, but through quiet presence. It's a powerful reminder that intimacy isn't over when the act ends. In fact, some of the most important things happen afterward. So ask yourself, does he linger in the moment, or does he flee from it? Does he open up even just a little? Or does he shut the door? Does he treat your shared silence as sacred or something to escape? These answers matter not because they define his worth, but because they reveal where he is on his own emotional journey and where you are in his heart. Love in its truest form doesn't just crave connection, it requires vulnerability. And the man who can stay soft, stay open, stay present, is a man who is not just in your bed, but in your life, your story, and your soul. Have you ever noticed that with certain people your bodies just move in sync, not because you planned it, not because you rehearsed it, but because something deeper, something invisible, was aligning you? Maybe you turned to look at each other at the exact same moment. Maybe your breathing slowly matched pace without you noticing. Or maybe your hands found each other in the dark like they already knew the way. This isn't coincidence. This is limbic synchrony, a beautiful unconscious phenomenon where two nervous systems begin to harmonize. It's what psychologists call emotional attunement. And in Jungian psychology, it's linked to something even more profound, a state Carl Jung referred to as participation mystique, a kind of shared psychic field where two beings are no longer fully separate. It's almost like dancing to a song only your souls can hear. This unconscious mirroring, when your movements reflect each other without effort, isn't about mimicry. It's not about control. It's about connection. It's the body's quiet way of saying, I feel safe with you. Think of it as an ancient dance between energies where the masculine and feminine archetypes meet and melt into something sacred. It's the moment when you're no longer trying to impress or perform, but instead just being together. You might notice it in subtle ways. Your breaths begin to rise and fall together as if your lungs are sharing the same rhythm. You turn over in bed at the same time without a word. Your heads tilt toward one another in perfect harmony, like flowers reaching for the same sun. These moments often go unnoticed in the noise of modern relationships. But they are everything. Because when a man unconsciously mirrors your movement, not to manipulate or seduce, but simply because he's attuned to your presence, he's showing you something primal, something pure. He's showing that his nervous system has surrendered to connection. From a Jungian perspective, this is the energetic birth of what he called the divine couple, a psychological union, where the anima and animus, the feminine and masculine within each of us, come into resonance. It's not just love. It's archetypal harmony. You're no longer just two people lying next to each other. You've become a sacred dyad, a we instead of a me and a you. This doesn't happen with everyone. You might go years without feeling it. You might mistake lust or chemistry for this kind of deep synchrony. But when it does happen, you feel it in your bones. And more importantly, you remember it. Because in those moments, there is no need for grand declarations. The body is already speaking. The soul is already listening. Let me ask you this. Have you ever woken up next to someone and realized your limbs had wrapped together without thinking? That your breathing matched like a lullaby? That even in silence, your energies were dancing? If so, that was more than comfort. That was recognition. That was your unconscious mind saying, I know this person. And that kind of knowing is rare. It means something has clicked on a limbic level beyond words or logic. It's what makes intimacy feel like home, not just for the body, but for the psyche. In fact, studies in neuroscience show that when people feel deeply, emotionally connected, their brainwaves and heart rates actually start to sync. This is science catching up to what mystics and lovers have known for centuries. Jung would say this is the moment when the psyche is no longer bound by the individual ego. When love becomes transpersonal. When I becomes we not through dependence, but through energetic alignment. And this kind of mirroring isn't about submission or dominance. It's not about one person leading and the other following. It's mutual. It's collaborative. It's like two rivers flowing side by side, not crashing, not competing, but finding a rhythm that feels natural, inevitable, almost divine. So if you find yourself moving in sync with someone, if your bodies seem to respond without speaking, if your energies seem to know each other before your minds can make sense of it, don't brush it off. That's the unconscious whispering. This is real. This is not performance. This is presence. And presence is where true love lives, not in the fireworks, not in the drama, but in the quiet synchrony of two souls choosing to dance again and again. So the next time your shoulder meets his without effort, or your hand rests in his without reaching, or your breath slows to match his, pause. Feel it. Recognize that you're not just in sync, you're in something sacred. So what have we really uncovered today? These 4 unconscious behaviors we've just explored aren't just romantic gestures. They're not tactics. They're not tricks. They are the silent language of the heart, the body's way of speaking when words fall short. You can't fake deep eye contact during intimacy. You can't force genuine prioritization of your partner's pleasure. You can't rehearse post-intimacy vulnerability. And you certainly can't choreograph the magic of limbic synchrony. These are moments that come from a place far beneath the ego, from the unconscious, from the soul. And that's exactly where Carl Jung says real love begins. He once said love is the alchemical process that transforms lust into union. It's not about burning desire alone. It's about the transformation of that desire into something meaningful, something sacred. In Jungian terms, love isn't just about attraction. It's about integration. It's when the masculine within you recognizes the feminine within the other, when the shadow is no longer feared but embraced, and when ego gives way to presence. So now, I want to ask you, have you ever experienced these signs in a relationship? Has your partner, or maybe even you, ever revealed love through these quiet, unconscious signals? Let me know in the comments. Your story might help someone else see clearly. Because sometimes we don't recognize love, not because it isn't there, but because we're looking for the wrong signs. And if this resonated with you, if it stirred something in you, maybe even helped you see love a little differently, then please like this video, subscribe for deeper conversations like this, and share it with someone who's still learning how to recognize real love. We're building something here, a space where psychology meets soul, and where we talk about relationships, not just at the surface, but from the depths of human nature. And if you're ready to go deeper, I invite you to watch our next video, Jung's Red Flags in Relationships, What Your Shadow Reveals. Because yes, love has its signs, but so does fear. So does projection. And learning to spot those early might just change everything. Until then, remember, real love doesn't need to shout. It speaks through the quiet, through the presence, and through the unconscious ways we hold each other, without ever saying a word.